Stop for just a moment, because what you're about to hear is not something your soulmate was prepared to discover, and it certainly wasn't something they went looking for. Sometimes the deepest truths are never spoken directly. They reveal themselves through ordinary moments that seem insignificant until everything suddenly begins to make sense. That is exactly what has happened. Recently, without warning or intention, your soulmate found themselves witnessing a piece of your past that had remained hidden from them for far longer than anyone realized. It wasn't a secret you deliberately kept. It wasn't a story you were trying to protect. It was simply a chapter of your life that quietly stayed in the background until the right moment arrived. The instant they understood what they were seeing, something inside them became completely still. The image they had carried of you for so long began changing before their very eyes. They realized there were battles you had already fought long before your paths crossed, burdens you carried without asking anyone to rescue you, and moments that shaped your heart in ways they had never imagined. Since then, they have found it impossible to stop thinking about what they learned. Memories that once seemed ordinary now carry a completely different meaning. Conversations they barely remembered suddenly feel important. Even the moments when you chose silence instead of explaining yourself now seem filled with answers they simply weren't ready to recognize before. What has shaken them the most is not the truth itself, but the realization that while they believed they understood your heart, they had only seen a small part of your journey. They never stopped to ask what came before the smile you offered, before the strength you displayed, or before the quiet resilience they admired without fully understanding where it came from. Now they are beginning to see that every scar carried a lesson, every disappointment shaped your compassion, and every difficult season taught you how to love with greater patience than most people ever could. That realization has awakened something deeply emotional inside them, because they are finally recognizing that the strongest people are often the ones whose greatest struggles remain invisible. The more they reflect on what they accidentally witnessed, the more they realize your past was never a weakness. It became the foundation of the person you are today. And that understanding is changing everything they thought they knew about you. For the first time, they are no longer looking at your story through assumptions or first impressions. They are looking at it through empathy, respect, and a growing awareness that they may have underestimated just how much courage it took for you to become the person standing before them today. What they have discovered has not simply answered old questions, it has created entirely new ones. And every answer they uncover is pulling their heart closer to a truth they never expected to face. And listen carefully, because what your soulmate accidentally witnessed has not left their thoughts for a single day. At first, they tried convincing themselves they were simply overthinking, that perhaps they had misunderstood what they had seen or heard. But no matter how many times they attempted to push it aside, the same realization kept returning with greater clarity. They have begun looking back on your journey from an entirely different perspective, and every reflection uncovers another truth they somehow failed to recognize before. The strength they admired in you no longer seems ordinary. They are beginning to understand that strength like yours is never created by comfort. It is born through moments of disappointment, quiet endurance, and battles that few people ever witness. Suddenly, the way you handled difficult situations makes perfect sense. The patience you showed when others became frustrated, the kindness you offered even after being misunderstood, and the calmness you carried during uncertain moments no longer seem like personality traits alone. They now realize those qualities were shaped by experiences long before they entered your life. That understanding has left them deeply emotional because they never imagined there was so much of your story they had never taken the time to see. As they continue reflecting, forgotten moments begin returning with remarkable clarity. They remember times when your smile seemed genuine, yet there was a quiet sadness hidden beneath it that they failed to notice. They remember conversations where you changed the subject instead of speaking about yourself. They remember moments when you offered comfort to everyone around you while asking for nothing in return. Back then, they accepted those moments without giving them much thought. Now they recognize them as pieces of a much larger picture. They are beginning to understand that you carried burdens without expecting anyone else to carry them for you. You faced challenges without making them your identity. You continued moving forward, even when life gave you every reason to stop. The more they recognize this, the more admiration begins replacing old assumptions. They no longer see someone who was simply quiet or reserved. They see someone who learned to survive difficult seasons without allowing those seasons to harden their heart, because your heart needs this right now. Understand that compassion has quietly replaced judgment inside your soulmate's heart. They have stopped asking why you reacted the way you did during certain moments, because they are finally beginning to understand what those reactions were protecting. They realize that some of your fears were not created overnight. Some of your hesitations were shaped by experiences that taught you to be careful before placing complete trust in someone again. Instead of questioning your caution, they now respect it. Instead of wondering why you sometimes held back, they now recognize the courage it took for you to open your heart at all. This realization has humbled them in ways they never expected, because they are beginning to see that while they focused on what you did, they never stopped to consider everything you had already survived before you reached them. That awareness has become impossible to ignore, and with every passing day, it grows stronger. There is another realization quietly unfolding within them as well. They are beginning to see that your past never stole your ability to love. If anything, it deepened it. Despite everything you endured, you continued choosing kindness over bitterness, understanding over resentment, and hope over despair. Very few people are capable of doing that, and your soulmate is only now beginning to appreciate how extraordinary that truly is. They understand that many people allow pain to define them, yet somehow you allowed your pain to teach you instead. That difference has completely changed the way they see your character. They are no longer impressed by what you accomplished on the surface. They are moved by the person you became underneath it all. Every hidden struggle, every quiet sacrifice, and every lesson you carried in silence has become part of a story they wish they had understood much sooner. And listen to this, because the emotions growing inside your soulmate are becoming impossible to contain. The truth they accidentally witnessed did not simply answer questions about your past. It exposed how incomplete their understanding of you had always been. They now realize they were admiring only the finished picture without ever knowing the countless moments that created it. That realization has filled them with both gratitude and regret. Gratitude because they have finally seen the depth of your heart, and regret because they now understand how many opportunities they had to truly know you but allowed to pass by unnoticed. Every memory they revisit carries a new meaning. Every conversation feels different. Every moment of silence now speaks louder than words ever could. Deep inside, they can feel something changing. They are no longer looking at your past as a collection of painful experiences. They are beginning to see it as the very reason your heart carries a strength, compassion, and quiet beauty that they can no longer overlook. And that realization is preparing them for an emotional awakening they never expected would become so deeply personal. And listen carefully, because something far deeper than curiosity has begun unfolding inside your soulmate's heart. What they accidentally witnessed about your past has done more than reveal a hidden chapter of your life. It has completely transformed the way they see you. They now understand that they were only looking at the person standing before them, never realizing how many difficult roads you had already walked just to become that person. Every quiet reaction that once puzzled them now carries meaning. Every moment when you hesitated before trusting, every time you chose patience instead of confrontation, every occasion when you quietly stepped back rather than creating conflict suddenly makes perfect sense. They are beginning to recognize that your actions were never random. They were shaped by lessons life had already written on your heart long before your paths ever crossed. This realization has stayed with them because it has forced them to admit something they never expected. They judge moments without understanding the story behind them. As they continue reflecting, they have started connecting pieces that once seemed completely unrelated. They remember times when you encouraged others, even while quietly carrying your own burdens. They remember how easily you offered forgiveness when many people would have chosen resentment. They remember the strength you displayed during difficult situations, never realizing that strength was not something you were born with. It was something you earned. Every challenge you faced became another lesson. Every disappointment became another reason to value honesty. Every hardship became another opportunity for your heart to grow instead of becoming bitter. The more your soulmate understands this, the more deeply they admire the person you truly are. They are no longer impressed by what you accomplished on the outside. They have become deeply moved by everything you overcame within yourself. That realization has created a respect they never knew they were missing, because they finally understand that your greatest victories were the ones no one else ever saw. Because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun questioning themselves in ways they never have before. Instead of wondering why you responded the way you did, they are now asking why they failed to notice what your heart had been quietly communicating all along. They realize there were moments when your silence was not distance but healing. There were times when your caution was not rejection but protection. There were occasions when your calmness hid emotions far deeper than anyone could see. Looking back now, they recognize that while they expected you to explain every wound, you were simply trying to move forward without allowing your past to define your future. That realization has humbled them because they now understand how much courage it takes to keep loving after life has already given you reasons to stop believing in people. They can finally see that your heart never became cold, it became careful. And there is a profound difference between those two things. Another realization has quietly taken hold of them as well. They understand now that your greatest quality was never perfection. It was resilience. They have come to see that real strength is not measured by how loudly someone speaks or how confidently they appear. Real strength is choosing compassion after experiencing pain. Real strength is continuing to trust when trust has been broken before. Real strength is refusing to allow yesterday's disappointments to destroy tomorrow's hope. They now recognize that this is exactly what you have been doing all along. Even when life tested your spirit, you continued offering kindness. Even when circumstances could have hardened your heart, you continued believing that goodness still existed. That realization has left them deeply emotional because they understand that very few people possess that kind of quiet courage. It cannot be taught overnight and it cannot be imitated. It's earned through experience, sacrifice, and countless moments when giving up would have been easier than moving forward. And listen to this, because the greatest change is happening within your soulmate, not within the memories themselves. The memories have always existed. What has changed is the heart that is looking back at them. They are no longer remembering your past through assumptions or incomplete understanding. They are remembering it through compassion, wisdom, and genuine empathy. Every reflection is revealing another reason to appreciate the person you became, instead of focusing on the pain you endured. They have stopped asking why your journey looked different from theirs, because they now understand that every difficult chapter shaped the beautiful qualities they admire today. More importantly, they are beginning to realize that if they had truly understood your story from the beginning, many of their own choices might have been different. That thought has become impossible to ignore because it carries both regret and hope. Regret for everything they failed to see, and hope that understanding the truth now may still change the way they choose to move forward. Their heart is no longer resisting what they have learned. Instead, it is quietly accepting that your past did not make you difficult to love. It revealed just how extraordinary your capacity to love has always been. And listen carefully, Because your soulmate has reached a point where understanding your past is no longer just an emotional realization. It has become a mirror reflecting the choices they now wish they had made differently. Ever since they accidentally witnessed the truth about what you quietly endured, they have found themselves carrying a feeling that grows stronger with every passing day. It is not simply sadness, and it is not merely surprise. It is the weight of realizing they responded to someone without ever fully understanding the journey that shaped them. That awareness has become impossible to escape because every memory now carries two versions in their mind. There is the version they believed at the time, and there is the version they see now through compassion instead of assumption. The difference between those two perspectives has left them deeply unsettled. They can no longer look back without wondering how many moments might have unfolded differently if they had taken the time to understand your heart, instead of relying on what they thought they already knew. As these thoughts continue filling their mind, they have started recognizing something that once remained hidden from them. They understand now that every person carries a story that cannot always be seen on the surface. Your quiet moments were never empty. Your cautious nature was never a lack of affection. Even the times when you seemed distant were often moments when you were protecting a heart that had already learned difficult lessons long before they became part of your life. They now realize they measured your reactions without measuring the experiences that created them. This realization has humbled them more than they ever imagined, because they understand that genuine empathy begins where assumptions finally end. The more they reflect on your journey, the more respect they feel for the strength it took to keep believing in goodness, despite everything life had already placed in your path. They never expected your past to reveal so much about your character, yet every new realization only deepens their admiration, because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun questioning the direction of their own future. They are no longer satisfied with carrying these emotions quietly inside. Something within them has started longing for honesty instead of avoidance. They understand that pretending nothing has changed will not erase what they now know. In fact, every attempt to ignore these feelings only makes them return with greater intensity. They imagine different possibilities, wondering what could happen if they allowed understanding to guide them instead of fear. They think about the conversations they wish they had approached differently, the moments when greater patience could have replaced quick conclusions, and the opportunities they may have overlooked simply because they did not yet know the truth. These reflections are not bringing them backward. They are quietly preparing them for a future where wisdom takes the place of regret. For the first time, they are beginning to understand that true healing does not begin when the past changes. It begins when the heart changes its understanding of the past. Another quiet transformation is taking place inside them as well. They have stopped viewing your past as something that separated you from happiness. Instead, they now see it as the very thing that revealed your remarkable resilience. Every challenge you survived became another reason you learned compassion. Every disappointment became another reason you valued sincerity. Every difficult chapter strengthened qualities that many people spend their entire lives searching for. Your soulmate can finally see that your greatest beauty was never found in a life without hardship. It was found in the way you refused to let hardship define the kind of person you became. That realization has inspired them more deeply than they expected, because it has shown them that strength is not the absence of pain. Strength is choosing hope even after pain has already visited your life. And listen to this, because the emotions growing within your soulmate are quietly leading them toward a decision they can no longer postpone. The truth they accidentally witnessed has removed the comfort of remaining emotionally distant. They understand now that every new day gives them another opportunity, either to remain trapped inside old misunderstandings or to step forward with the wisdom they have finally gained. Regret is no longer controlling their heart the way it did at first. It is becoming motivation. It is encouraging them to become more honest, more understanding, and more courageous than they have ever been before. They are beginning to realize that some of life's greatest turning points arrive without warning, disguised as simple moments that unexpectedly reveal profound truths. This was one of those moments. What they discovered about your past did not simply change the way they remember your story. It changed the way they see love, the way they see forgiveness, and the way they see the future that still lies quietly ahead. And with every passing day, they feel themselves moving closer to a choice that is no longer driven by uncertainty, but by a deep respect for everything your journey has taught them about the extraordinary person you have always been. And listen carefully, because after everything your soulmate has accidentally witnessed and everything they have quietly come to understand, they are no longer standing where they once stood. The truth about your past has changed them in ways they never expected. It has softened parts of their heart they thought would always remain guarded. It has opened their eyes to the reality that every person carries chapters that are never fully visible to the outside world. Looking back now, they no longer see someone who simply smiled through difficult moments or remained calm during life's challenges. They see someone who chose courage when fear would have been easier, someone who continued believing in kindness after experiencing disappointment, and someone who refused to allow yesterday's pain to steal tomorrow's hope. That realization has become deeply personal, because they now understand that your greatest victories were never the ones others celebrated. They were the quiet victories no one noticed. The moments when you chose to keep moving forward despite everything that tried to convince you to give up. The more they reflect, the more they recognize that your past did not weaken your heart, it refined it. Every hardship taught you patience. Every setback strengthened your compassion. Every unanswered question gave you greater wisdom than you realized at the time. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that these experiences became the invisible foundation beneath every decision you made. They now see why you valued honesty so deeply, why trust mattered so much to you, and why your heart never rushed where it did not feel safe. These qualities once confused them because they only saw your actions without understanding the experiences behind them. Today, those same qualities have become the very reasons they admire you so profoundly. They no longer mistake your careful nature for distance or your quietness for uncertainty. Instead, they recognize them as signs of someone who learned that genuine love deserves sincerity, consistency, and patience. That understanding has completely transformed the way they remember every interaction you ever shared. Because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also discovered something unexpected about themselves through this journey. They have realized that true understanding is not simply hearing another person's story. It is allowing that story to change your own heart. That is exactly what has happened. Without planning it, your experiences have become lessons for them as well. They are beginning to question old habits that once kept them emotionally guarded. They are letting go of assumptions that once seemed unquestionable. More importantly, they are learning that love is never fully understood through appearances alone. It is understood through compassion, through listening, and through taking the time to see what cannot always be spoken aloud. This realization has awakened a new sense of gratitude inside them, because they now recognize that knowing your past has become one of the greatest gifts life could have quietly placed before them. It has taught them to value authenticity over perfection and understanding over quick conclusions. There is another truth growing stronger within them every single day. They have stopped wishing they could erase what has already happened, because they now understand that your past is not something to be pitied. It is something to be respected. Without those difficult chapters, you would not possess the quiet wisdom that makes your heart so unique today. Without those seasons of uncertainty, you would never have developed the resilience that continues inspiring everyone fortunate enough to truly know you. Your soulmate can finally see that every challenge became part of a much greater purpose, shaping a person whose strength was never loud, but whose character became impossible to ignore. The emotions they feel now are no longer rooted only in regret. They are rooted in admiration, respect, and a sincere appreciation for the incredible journey that transformed you into the person you are today. That appreciation has become one of the deepest emotions they have ever experienced, because it is built upon truth instead of assumption. And listen to this, because the story does not end with what your soulmate accidentally witnessed. In many ways, that moment was only the beginning. It became the doorway to an emotional awakening they never anticipated, one that continues changing the way they see you, themselves, and the future that still lies ahead. They understand now that some truths reveal themselves quietly, arriving without warning and asking nothing except to be acknowledged. This was one of those truths. It reminded them that every heart carries invisible chapters, every smile has a history, and every act of kindness is often born from battles no one else ever sees. As they move forward, they carry this understanding with them, knowing they can never return to the person they were before discovering your story. The truth about your past has become far more than a memory. It has become a lasting reminder that the strongest souls are rarely those who lived the easiest lives. They are the ones who walked through darkness without allowing it to extinguish their light. Your soulmate finally sees that light within you, and now that they have seen it, they know they will never look at you the same way again.